Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LPFM.
Connecting Highline and our region.
History, cultural heritage, art, performances, contemporary pop culture.
We collect, preserve, and tell the stories of the Highline region and its people.
We want to embrace our differences and similarities.
We want to extend our mission outside the walls of the museum. Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LPFM.
Hi everyone, this is Nancy from the Highline Heritage Museum and welcome back. Today we have a pretty cool person, I say. I had the pleasure of knowing him since last year, and it was really interesting to work with him and get a little glimpses of who he is. But I'm excited for this interview so we get to know him. And so he's going to share with us his story. So why are we doing this project? I'm liking more and more this answer. Why not? Why not to connect with our neighbors, with our friends, with our communities? Why not being able to share the stories that doesn't have to stay in the museum, quite the opposite, that we can share it everywhere. So thank you for joining us today. And tell me, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Who are you?
My name is Justin Murta. I'm a DJ professionally, as well as an employee benefits consultant. I live here in the Puget Sound region, and yeah, I'm super excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
I know that, no, thank you for coming with us. I know that last year you worked with us in a fundraiser, and you were so gracious and helping us with the support of the mission of what we do here. Why? Why do you do things like that? What is it that, do you work often with the community? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I do events and work with anybody that I feel is you know I guess like people that are really into like my services and people that I feel like I can really help. I like to do things that are meaningful, not necessarily always for like a financial reason.
Mhm.
And especially like when it comes to a local community that I've worked with or has helped me in my journey to be where I'm at. It's always exciting to be able to do something to give back to that community and not only enrich them, but then in turn that helps enrich me. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And then you're also into music. I know that.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit who you are what is the connection between you and the music?
Sure. So I started in the early 2000s in the hip hop scene. I had a musical journey. Wanted to be like a rapper,
Mm-hmm.
and I accomplished that. So I began my music career here in Puget Sound. Worked with a lot of great local artists. And local being, like even from, the South End area, like Des
Mm-hmm.
Moines and Federal Way and Auburn, as well as Seattle and Everett and finally, really statewide. Um, so yeah, I got into hip hop in the early 2000s and it just kind of kept going. I figured out how to do that full time. So I created a company called the Hip Hop Handbook, and we would teach in demonstration form the history of hip hop. So we would travel all over the United States, and we would kind of give these school assemblies as well as teach workshops and everything else. So it was awesome to be able to kind of live that passion, full time because I think there's like always a piece of every artist, that always wonders, like, well, could I have done this full time or could I, have kind of realized that dream of making a career, living out of it. And it was immensely tough, but it was, really the catalyst to creating, who I am today.
That's cool. And so your journey with music, you mentioned early 2000s, but I'm assuming that it is deeper than that.
Oh, sure.
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, it all started with my mom, so
Mhm.
thank God for parents, and she pushed me to play violin. I mean,
Mm,
and not really push, but I'd say encourage and
mhm.
nurture and everything because I mean I did enjoy playing the violin when I was young, and although I don't play violin hardly at all these days, I still find enjoyment in creating music. So I produce music quite a bit. So the evolution from that until now, the genesis started with, the parents, here's a violin, I started working with it, maybe I seemed like I lose focus and then it's like, hey, go in and practice, and then, through that, developed that skill set that really propelled me, to where I'm at today as well.
I think that the reason why I asked that question is that I see this pattern of whoever whatever your passions are today is something that has been rooted from way before,
Oh,
as an adult. It is always something that it carries to you and it's part of you and it shows. And so that's what the little that I know of you is that the music is an important element of you. But this is your microphone. This is your story. Tell us a little bit what
yeah.
else, what makes you you?
I think the uniqueness or whatever, especially in this point in my career, this aspect, how, since I've gotten here, I've really merged like my business or like like what would people would consider like a regular job or a real job, like kind of balancing that career or creating that career and having not just like DJ being a side hustle, but also DJ being a career, but then marrying those two careers or those two universes together. And I think that you bring up an interesting point. Well, like, how does music affect you? Well, I think everybody really intrinsically loves music, and music can be an awesome force within you to help you with all kinds of stuff, like, so just enjoying music, relaxes you, but also it does, things to us scientifically, like it helps certain pathways, both neurologically and sometimes emotionally and everything. So, I mean, it does work on an individual like more than just like, oh, I consciously like the music. So, like unconsciously or involuntarily, it's also doing things for us. And so, being able to understand that and then help encourage that, maybe through one career path or the other, helps fundamentally change people's lives and
Hmm.
hopefully for the better.
No, that's good. I can see, despite the age, despite the time that we're living in today, I know that it's something that involves, that is an evolution as a human beings to try new paths in different things, either through art or through professions or whatever. So I'm going to be very curious to see what is going to be you in 20 years, 30 years from now, and to see what is your transition, your journey from where you started to where you're heading. Who knows? Anyways, I'm always wondering about that on
Yeah,
people's just the general journey
sure.
of it. And so your connection with the region has been only through music, or it's been other areas?
Other areas as well. We've done like a lot of supporting the arts types of things. So, not just through music being, of a classic art sense or through the humanities, but also like through the library, right here. They've helped put on different shows. It was like Books and Beats or something like that. So
Mhm.
like helping, young authors and stuff like that to be inspired, as well as some of the art exhibitions and shows just regionally, as well as working with, before it was even Westfield, before it was, just South Center.
Mhm.
And, we did some support with like the local, like BMX riders, dancers, stuff like that through Zoomies and the encouragement and monetary assistance, sponsorship, endorsement through Zoomies. We did some pretty cool stuff, like out in the parking lot even, and it was the site of like the Zoomies couch tour and everything. So like this region, we've done a lot of stuff here, fundamentally through, not just hip hop culture, but kind of the youth culture at large. And I was, lucky enough to be kind of a big part in all that, like not only as an entertainer, but sometimes as like a promoter or, co-producer or, maybe just a friend to help encourage certain people to be able to do those things. So it's pretty neat.
One thing that I'm hearing you is a pattern of working with the youth. So I'm picking on several
Yeah.
different, you mentioned it in many different areas already. Why? Why the youth?
Um,
Is that something is as a coincidence coming to you, or is something that interests you and you are attracted to that?
I nothing, I think nothing validates who we are
Mm-hmm.
more than the next generation that comes up. Because if, I don't care how talented you are or, like how you view yourself, whether, it be kind of like in a narcissistic way, like, okay, I'm the best at this and this is who I am. If you don't have a greater appreciation for that skill set, doesn't matter how talented you are, that memory and everything, it's all going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, reaffirming who we are and sharing who we are and encouraging other people, like I said, it validates our skill set, validates our journey, and it enriches us because we get to see, wow, now somebody's, emulating or walking maybe in the same path or and I think that's fundamentally important because like I sometimes I see the newer generation and they're a little bit more like voyeuristic or they're more of like a consumer or they're more like watching instead of like actually being a participant and
Mm-hmm.
facilitating, which that's cool. I mean, and everybody loves an audience, but at the same time, we also want that 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 show and tell type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, man, okay, I see it now. I do it because like jam circles and breakdance ciphers and MC ciphers and stuff like that. Like those are some of like my best memories like ever. And it was really cool. Like when you brought that up, you're like, I'm curious to see what your journey is going to look like in 20 years. Well, like for example, my birthday was just on Sunday, and
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And my oldest daughter surprised me by doing a recital. So
Mm-hmm.
she did like a Mozart piece for my birthday, and I just thought that was so awesome because
That's
one,
crazy.
it's like it's a gift that it transcends a lot of things. I don't want to get choked up.
No, 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 no.
You know,
I think that's
but
the
it's
best
yeah, it's
birthday present you got, and,
it
and
is.
and then talking about the youth and importance of that, and how do we create those bridges between generations, and how do we allow them to see the other side? I mean, it's not just them living, but it's also experiencing and seeing what the magic that all of us has to offer. But it was an interesting observation about how they are more of a consumers generation than a producing one.
Hmm.
I have my daughter; she's 18, and she was through COVID in middle school. And as you know, there's all these kids are socially developed behind 2 years.
Yeah,
All the
absolutely. Yeah,
social, I mean, they are not, they did not experience what we experienced. We had a
absolutely.
full on journey on of being exposed to different faces. And so when it was hit for her in that bracket of just right when she's a teenager and the restriction and isolation, it really affects them. I mean, I think that we are not fully conscious of the impact of this generation. Where number one, my daughter was born when the smartphones came out and
Mm.
open to the public.
Yeah, yeah,
2007. And then on top of it, we get to this generation where it was all the only way to connect and be isolated and feel like you're not alone was through this.
right.
And so it's through watching, it's not through acting. It was that somebody else was doing, and it's safe not to do it in front of people. And so I think that we underestimate the damage
Mhm.
or the impact or I don't know, the journey
Yeah,
completely different. And so it was an interesting observation of you saying they're more of observers than producing, and how they interact socially also affects them.
yeah,
And so I think that we're gonna see the newer generation that's coming after them a lot fresher. They would not be as impactful. But there's just this bracket
Yeah,
this period in the last 10 years that
sure.
that's gonna really be, and it's sad because it's as a kid that's trying to gain and learn all these social skills and completely being like that right in the sweet spot when you're developing them, it really creates that. Anyway, I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm off
Oh no, no,
on this topic.
that's awesome. I think more people should be vocal about this and sharing this because I do. I think that uh, it is damaging. I don't believe that there's a lot of good that can come from, especially like what I call like the doom scroll. And it's just like, the engagement, like somebody brought up the fact that, oh, well, you guys used to have newspapers. And like I would generally like, especially in my mid 20s and I was out on the road a lot with the Hip Hop Handbook, we'd get the newspaper every day. I would read the newspaper every day. But my engagement with that newspaper was probably no more than an hour ever. Like because there's only so much of it. You get to the end of the content and then it's gone. It's like, okay, well, there's everything that I've wanted to get out of this newspaper is it's depleted now, and I can either set the newspaper back in the bin or whatever for the next person or, and go on my way. Whereas, there isn't literally like you could sit here and scroll for maybe I don't even know how many years, but almost infinitely. And you're never going to end the amount of content that's still available on the phone that one individual can consume.
Hmm.
And especially through, and that's just short form. Like if you went into long form like YouTube and it gets longer and longer, I mean it's crazy. Like the amount of content, the amount of information that's available for someone to consume. And I find myself sometimes, like going down, what they call the rabbit hole, and you'll like watch one thing, and then you're like, oh, that's interesting. Well, what about that? And then you hyperlink to the next thing, and you hyperlink to the next thing, and then all of a sudden, like 2 hours are gone. It's like, no, I needed to practice for this other thing. So, I think it was really important for me. Like last month, I didn't post on Instagram or didn't engage with social media for about a month and a half, and I think I'm gonna start doing that like I don't know, maybe every couple quarters, like I'm just gonna just not even be on my phone for like a month.
Yeah.
And it just helps kind of like reprocess things and you start to focus on other things that, you find important or you need to build your skill set.
And that is coming from a generation that we know what it is to read newspapers, we know what it is to use typewriters, we know
Right.
what it is not to work on computers or have smartphones. Now imagine the generation that the only thing that they know is that.
No, it's
And so I think that we might be the last generation where we are going to cope cope with the cope with this transition. Tell me more about you.
okay. Well, the other side of Justin Murta is employee benefits and like super proud of that. And one of the reasons why, I bring it up is because I feel like my work through that has been super beneficial. And again, it's like introducing how these two ideas can work. So, as an employee benefits consultant, I specialize in employee benefits. I look at products that can effectively make your fringe benefits in a company better, and then also working with a human resources department in a company in order to understand those benefits, promote those benefits. And, as we know, healthcare, is in serious trouble. It's been in trouble for like the last 30 years, but it's becoming, immensely unaffordable for everybody, like as the cost of healthcare in America rises, as well as, just our overall, I think, aging because now that
Hmm.
we're starting to live longer years, it introduces the necessity for people to, need medical care. And so I've, found a lot of creative funding sources, working with, tribal governments, tribal nations, for example, in order to make healthcare affordable for them and using, now I'm able to use music to help people understand their benefits, to help people.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So like, making like employee benefit functions where maybe it's an employee fair or maybe it's a new hire orientation or something, whether it be a big company or a small company. Companies really want folks to understand their benefits because you either, like right now you have people that use the benefits all the time, which, is a small percent, or you have people that just don't use the benefits at all. And there has to be more of a, centrist there. You have to have, everybody getting checkups, people doing, the preventive things. Because a lot of times, like the preventive stuff and the easy stuff, that's the cheapest. It doesn't really even affect the
Mm,
plan that much. So encouraging people to use the benefits, but people are just so scared that like especially if they have like a large deductible or they don't understand how the coinsurance works or something, they're afraid that they're going to go to the hospital and then they're going to come home and they're going to have this giant bill. And so if you're able to explain that to them properly, show them how the benefits work, show them how they can use it, it definitely improves their life. But it's if we don't do that, then companies are going to stop offering benefits because there's not really any mandates that say, a company has to provide benefits. I mean, there is to a certain degree, but it's like, well, what happens if I don't provide the benefits? Oh, well, you get penalized. Well, sometimes the penalty for not providing those benefits is way less than actually providing the benefits themselves, if that makes sense. So if a company's spending like, let's say, $100,000 a year on their employees by paying for their medical premiums, right? Um, the penalty might only be 80,000. So it would still be in the best interest of the company not to provide the benefits, especially if people aren't using them. And so we don't want that. We want to encourage, businesses to, keep offering benefits, but we also want to make sure that people understand how those benefits work. And oftentimes music is a very good icebreaker. It's fun for people, like when, people go into an environment where there's music and there's community vendors, that come to the fair. So I encourage like companies to work with their local partners to bring them in and show them, hey, like we work with Costco or we work with these guys and they're offering you a discount today or they're giving you this promotion or whatever. But it just builds like, a strong foundation of community, but it definitely shows the employees that the company cares, and then it also shows that company that other companies around them care. And then it just has that sense of family versus like, oh, I'm going to work and I don't know what I'm doing for this company, but I'm just going here for a paycheck type of thing.
this has been great to be able to see little glimpses of different sides of you. I mean, we changed the topic kind of dramatically,
Yeah,
but it was fine. It was good to see immediately. So we have around 8 minutes or so, and I know that we also, you know, if people are curious and if people are like, okay, who is he? Where can I find him? Where can I learn more about him? Do you have a website? Do you have a location that they can find you?
I do. I'm super easy to find. Like, the easiest way, you can literally go to Google and just search my name, Justin, and my last name's Murta, Murta. If you search that in quotations, you'll find everything about me. My website's easy to find. It's justinmurta.com. Uh, and so musically, like you'll find, all my stuff there. You'll find out about my political career. So I did
Mm,
run for the insurance commissioner for the state of Washington. So I'm pretty proud of that.
wow.
You'll find my journey that has to do with that, and maybe we can come back on a later topic and talk about statewide politics and maybe some issues that I've discovered with that. And then the third thing is Acrisure, and the Acrisure, I work for Acrissure's West Division. The Acrisure is the fifth largest broker in the world,
Mm,
but they're doing some really great work out here. They're sponsoring local stuff. We have some really large local clients that are really invested in the state of Washington. And like I said, like I was just at the Washington Indian Gaming Association conference, for example, yesterday. So I drove up
wow.
from Portland from that, or really close to Portland. It was actually at ALNA, which is a very large casino owned by the Cowlitz Nation, which is close to Portland. And they were down there fully supporting me for that. And I was,
Wow.
meeting with clients and helping some of the HR departments and stuff talk about their issues with them within themselves and their HR roundtable. So, yeah, really proud of all that. So you can,
Yeah, you seem like a pretty active person with a lot of things going on.
yeah, but that's what I really resonate with you, and I really appreciate everything that you do. And that's one reason why one of the many reasons why I supported your event and will always continue to support you in the future. I mean, what you've done with this museum is absolutely amazing. And sometimes it's weird. We'll feel like everything's daunting and we're not getting far, or we're in a rut. But then what we are doing on a micro level is so huge for other people's lives, and it was really awesome to see how many people you touched through that event. And that's really cool to be a part of all of that. So definitely appreciate your time and the platform that you're providing, and we'll just continue supporting you.
No. I think it's no. Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words and message. But I think that like what you were saying earlier about community, about caring, and I think that if you can connect the dots with everything that you shared today about you connecting with the youth, about you connecting with your music, about you connecting with your political career, you connecting with the groups that are supporting you from yesterday. It's all about caring.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about how do we cultivate a sense of community? How do we cultivate a sense of hey, we are no enemies, so we're right here. Let's connect. Let's highlight. Let's celebrate. Let's honor the different parts of who we are as human beings. And I think that for us is this journey of not just the history journey, but also the heritage. The history, you can think about, okay, what was the history of the area and talk about that. But it's also us as a human beings, what makes us, what makes a community. And all of us have, we're so different from each other, but also at the same time, we got a lot of similarities. So going back to the comment, thank you, because it's not about one person or me or one museum. It's about the caring of many people, and no matter what angle, no matter what field, no matter what group, the concept of caring for others, and do this be, I don't know, healthy ecosystem that allows us to do the best that we can as a human beings, and then also be able to share the best that we are with others, and then us be able to appreciate what others are. And I might be naive in that regard. I like to see the light versus the dark.
Yeah.
I think that there's lots of darkness out there, and I want to be healthy mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on the healthy elements, on seeing the goodness in people, despite that we have mistakes, that we are not perfect, that we make mistakes every 5 minutes, and then our values may be different and from each other. Anyway,
No, that's great. No, that's really awesome. No, it's true. And I try to live on the side of naivety as well, because I mean, I'd rather be hopeful and maybe naive in that aspect than, just be doom and gloom, and, because I think it cultivates the other side. So definitely appreciate that sentiment.
well, thank you. So all of you, if you got curious about who he is, now you know. You don't mind repeating your website again?
Sure. It's justinmurta.com. So JUSTIN, my last name MURTA. It's easy to find. Like I said, you can search me in quotes or search my last name in quotes and you'll find me. So appreciate your time, and we'll see you again in the future.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LP FM. We envision ourselves sitting at a round table where no one is the leader and stories are heard respectfully, regardless of gender, age, sexual orientation, disabilities, or ethnicity. Our mission is we collect, preserve, and tell the stories of the Highline region and its people. We want to extend our mission outside the walls of the museum. Our Highline Voices represents us all, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and uniting to cultivate our future. This project allows us to reach out to demographics who might be unable to visit the museum. People with disabilities, low-income families, people who don't trust museums, and more. In partnership, we are launching a locally programmed new radio station at the museum, featuring recorded and live Highline's heritage, history, culture, arts, and more. Are you interested in sharing your story? Email director@highlinemuseum.org.